Hi there, this is Art and Such with my Rainbow Loom tutorial for Herman Munster from the Munsters, and he goes with the rest of the set. Today we're going to be making what you see here, but we're going to use green for the face and hands. I have used skin tone in the original, so you'll get to see it both ways here. We have black bands and gray bands. For the eyes you can use black beads. You can use beads of another color, bands of another color. I'm going to use, like you see here, a couple of small pearl beads, which I'll be threading on with some dental floss, and I will draw the pupils on with a Sharpie marker. Beyond this, you're going to want a couple of C-clips, a couple of holding hooks, and your loom in the offset configuration. Okay, so here we go. We're going to make our arms. And you're going to decide what color you want for the skin. It could be gray, green, or skin tone. I'm going to use green this time around. And we're going to take 2 bands of the skin color and wrap them together 3 times onto the hook. And this is going to go onto 2 gray bands. So pinch them together, put them on the end of your hook, and slide over your wrapped green. Replace the other end. And we want to continue this chain with 7 more sets of double gray bands, which will give us a total of 8 sets. If you want them to look extra thick, you can always use 3 bands at a time, but this is good. It gives his arm the appearance of being really long and lanky. And we are going to add a little piece at the top to give the appearance of extra muscles, so it's good either which way. And I can't see a single thing. It's like blindingly bright in the sunlight here, so hopefully that'll make for good picture quality for you, and I'm going to try my best to keep in front of the camera here. Alright, once you've got your 8 sets of double gray bands, you're going to get 2 grays ready. And what we want to do, I'll show you this with another hook first. This is kind of the easier way. You're going to take one side of the loops off here. So you'll have 2 loops on one hook and 2 on the other. And we're going to take those 2 grays and go under one side. And replace. And then you can return the other side onto that hook. Take another 2 gray bands. Put them on the end, and these are going to slide under just the first loops towards the end of your hook. And replace the other end. We're going to put this onto 2 gray bands, pinch them together, put them at the top of your hook and slide through. And we're going to go onto 1 more set of double gray bands. There you have an arm complete. You can leave it here or put it on your other hook, and we're going to make 1 more the same way. So 2 green bands wrapped 1, 2, 3 or 4 times, 3 times, I think we did 4. And we're going to put it onto, just as long as it's not too loopy here. That looks good. We're going to go on to 8 sets of double gray bands again. Maybe I did only do it 3, this feels a lot tighter. You'll have to sort of judge that part out for yourself based on how loose your bands are, how thick they are, how thick or tight or loose you want the hands to be, but either 3 loops or 4 loops will be fine. Okay, so this is our 3rd set of double gray, and 4, 5, 6. I hear someone's got their lawnmower going out there. Sorry about that. 7. We'll call it like white noise. 8. And I'm going to show you the other way to do this, is you just take one side off or leave one side off, pinch it sideways, turn it around and put your 2 grays on, and slide those under the first side, replace. So you can use that hook method again if this is looking complicated. We put our other side back, take the next 2, slide it under the ones on the far end, and replace, and onto 2 sets of double gray bands. One second, we're going to close this up. that's a little bit better. Let's make our legs together now. We're going to start with the boots. And I've made really long boots. This is what they look like. So if you have anything you want to modify, this is just, I'm showing you what it's going to look like. We take 3 black bands, wrap them around a couple of your fingers on your less dominant hand here, put it on your hook, and we're going to twist and wrap 1, 2, and 3 times. And we're going to put this onto, this looks like 3 sets of 3 bands, but I wrote down 2. Take 3 bands together, slide your wrapped bands over, replace, and 3 again. And 1 more set of 3. Here you were thinking they were going to be complicated boots, but no, we kept it simple this time. Onto 2 black bands, and just like the arms, we're taking pairs of gray bands, and we're going to make a chain here or a leg of 10 sets of double gray. It sounds like angry bumblebees out there, but I dulled the noise there as best I could. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10, and we have another leg to do, and then we can head to the loom. So same thing for our opposite leg. Start with the boot, 3 black bands, wrap 1, 2, 3 times, pull onto 3 sets of triple bands. So that's 1 group of 3, 2 sets of 3, 3 sets of 3, and 2 bands. This is all black. And then we've got 10 sets of double gray bands again. Almost done this part, promise. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. In a second we'll put this down and get your loom ready here. Trying to see, okay, we're in camera, we're in range, I think we're good. And we're going to start with 3 bands of green. Place them together from the top center peg to the second peg down in the center. If you're trying to preserve bands and this seems like a lot, you can leave it at 2 bands here. We are going to lay down 2 black bands on the center row from the second center to the third center peg. Now take 2 grays from the second center to the second peg down on the far side, and another 2 from the second peg down in the center to the second peg down on the closer side. Now in the middle we're going to come down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 more times with double black bands, starting at the third peg down. And that means that you are going to end on the 9th peg down in the middle. And we want to lay down 2 gray bands right below that. And that will go to the 10th peg down. And on either side we're going to come down with double black bands until the 9th peg down on that side, on either side. So start at the second peg down, grab your black bands, 2 to a set, and we're coming down, I think that'll be 6 times. Let's see, 3, 4, no more than that, 5, 6, and 7 times. And we're going to put down 2 more grays, and these are going to end just below the center, where the center row ended. We want to repeat this all for the opposite side. So line it up so that your black ends at the same peg on either side, and we're going to lay down 2 grays, 2 gray bands together, that is. Now the next thing is to add our legs, and we're going to take our hook, take 2 gray bands, slide them through your first leg on the end of the hook there, and attach that from your, well, if you're looking from the bottom of the loom and counting up, it's the 4th peg up on the side and the 4th peg up on the center. These are the last ones where we placed our bands. We will do the same thing for the other leg and the other side. Take 2 bands, pull them through, and stretch it across with the leg sitting in the middle. Let's put on a cap band. It's gonna go on that last gray center peg that we used. Take a gray, put it on top, and twist it 1, 2, and 3 times. You can do it one tighter, but you don't really need to. Let's add our holding bands. Let's add our arms, and then we'll add our holding bands. Okay, arms are going to stretch. You can see there's 2 sets of loops here for each one, and we're going to put 2 of those loops or ends onto the 2nd peg down on the side, and 2 of them are going to go onto the 3rd peg down. So it's going to stretch over and kind of outwards here. And same for, oops, for the other side. I'm trying to do this without twisting it. I'm trying to do it without moving everything off camera here. There we go. Now our holding bands, we're just going to take block bands, and we're going to create triangle holding bands, single bands. So lay it across your 3rd pegs down, across your 4th pegs down. If it's easier, if this is new to you, you can stretch it across and then use your hook to bring it over the center piece. We're going to repeat this until we reach the grays, and then you can use a gray holding band or a black holding band for that last set there. Now last thing before we start looping up is the suit jacket. That's the gray that's going to be on the outside, and for that we're going to need to make a side extension. So take a single gray band, wrap it 1, 2, 3, and 4 times. You can do it a little bit looser if you want to. This one's kind of stretched out though. Let's do it 3 times. There we go. And we're going to put this onto 8 sets of double gray bands. So you're just pinching 2 gray bands together and sliding the bands from your hook on top of those. It's 2, 3 sets, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Here, just when you thought we were done with making chains. Put this onto the 2nd peg down on the side, and this is ultimately going to stretch until it's going to go almost to where our gray, it's going to go to where our gray bands start down here. So make sure you're grabbing this piece you've just added and not the arm. And you can see, if you look really closely here, we have right at the end there's kind of a round nubby knot thing, and above there there's a chain. So I want you to find one of the pieces out of that bottom chain, and we're going to stretch this down to the 5th peg up from the bottom of the loom and lay it over. Now if you want, you can start at the top and work down, or you can start down here. And what we're going to do is take a piece out of each section of chain and line it up and catch it over the pegs that are sitting in between. So you might find it easier, as I said, to start at the top, or you might find it easier to start at the bottom, and you're just going to keep stretching this down as you go so that each chain link is going to match up with one of our links in the middle here. Got one more to go. That's right there. Okay. Nope, I've missed one there. I thought that was a little funny looking. Okay. I have a sort of loose piece here, I'm not sure why, but we're gonna bring that over there so it's not so loose. Oh, this is twisted, that's why. Always something to troubleshoot, huh? Okay, let's do one for the other side. Single gray, wrap it on your hook. 1, 2, 3 times. Onto 8 sets of double gray bands. Just check something here, I'm not sure. Looks a little funny, but no, that's all right. Okay, this is 2, 3, 4. Sometimes you just get a band that's a little bit stretched out and it makes it look loose when it isn't, but I'm gonna keep an eye on that section, and if there's a problem, we'll fix it. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Connect it on the other side, and this time around I'm just going to pull a piece out of each chain as I go. I'm going to keep this stretched. If you want, you can attach it at the bottom first if that's easier for you. Once again, I'm taking a piece out of each chain to pull over the corresponding pegs. Got one more here and one more here. Okay. And we're ready to loop up. Whew. Okay. So we're going to go to that 4th peg up in the center. And we're going to try to sort of separate everything, push it down. And I can see that the bands from this side, from the far side, are higher up. They're above the bands in the center and the ones on the closer side. So those are the 2 that I want to grab from under this cap, this cap band. And I'm going to pull it over to the right side, go back in, get the next 2, bring them up, and bring them back down to the leftmost side, the closer side. And then I can loop up. And I'm going to loop up, I'll stop at the 3rd peg from the top in the center row, that is. And the reason that I'm stopping here is because I want to make sure that the black ends up on top on both sides, so I'm going to loop the grays in first. Now on either side, you're going to be looping up this bottom row of double bands. So push back all of the bands above them. You have the open part of your hook pointed up and away from you. You want to get both of those bottommost bands and wrap them onto the next peg up. We're getting the bottom 2 blacks now, and we're switching, we're going forward, looming forward until you get to the 2nd peg down on that row. And don't worry about the extension here, the suit section, you don't have to do anything for it. Just watch that you're pushing back everything but the bottom 2. When you get to that 2nd peg down, loop up the bottom grays and they will go to the 2nd center peg down. Let's go back to the opposite side, and we're going to repeat what we just did. Push back everything but your bottom 2, so you can actually see the bands are moving backwards as they get inside. And reach for those bottom blocks. Just keep some attention. If you feel that the tension is a little different from one set to the other, you might be missing a band or have grabbed an extra band, or Like, I know if I grab this band, something funny is going to happen. I'm going to lose my holding band and my chain's going to break. So just be aware of how the different sets are feeling as you're going through them. Come back down to that third peg down in the center, find your bottom 2 black bands, loop them forward, and find your bottom 3 green bands and loop those forward. We're going to take this off the loom, and the bands you gotta keep an eye on are the bands on the top center peg, those green ones. Just make sure those don't come loose. You can put them on a C-clip, a holding hook, on your finger, or just leave them for the moment while we ease the rest of this off. Trying to do this carefully because if we yank them off, which is something I used to love doing, it tends to break the bands, break the loom, and can just stretch the body out a lot, which is what we're not aiming for here. Okay, put your hook through the bands on the top center peg, pop them off, give everything a little stretch, tug, adjust, and I've turned him over. I don't know if you caught that, but when I pulled them off, I turned him over. You can tell that this is the back side because that's where you see your holding band. So I'm going to turn this around and switch my hook around. There we go. If you have anything loose, you want to secure it in the back. And when you're ready, you can start on the face here. So we have our loom in the same configuration. And we are going to start with 2 black bands, top center to the top right. 2 black bands from the top center to the top left. And we're going to come down with green bands 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times in the center, double bands. 1 set, 2 sets, 3, 4, and 5. I'll tell you, I'm kind of excited to see how he's going to come out in green this time. On either side, we're going to come down with black bands, 2 sets of double black bands. And then 2 sets of double green bands after that on either side. So he's going to have a really long face, it's going to be really narrow, and everything's going to be nice and tight here. Okay, 2 green bands from the 5th side peg to the 6th center peg. Repeat that again for the opposite side. And we are using doubled over single bands for our holding bands, and the idea is that we want to make everything on the face really, really tight. So we're gonna start at the top with 1 black doubled over single holding band. I'll show you what that looks like. Take a black band, stretch, twist, and you're going to bring it back over itself and lay that across your second pegs down. Triangle formation just like before. And our next 3 are going to be green, same thing, double it over, stretch it across. So over the 3rd pegs down, over the 4th pegs down, and over the 5th pegs down. Okay, let's add our eyes, and I think that's all we need before we put on the body and start looping. So if you are using bands, you've seen me do this before, but we'll do it again. Pick the color you want for your eyes. Take a single, wrap it 1, 2, 3 times, and repeat with another band of the same color. And then both of these would go onto a single green band. You're just going to transfer it over 1, 2, 3. Let's get that to work here. And you're going to keep your 2 bands sort of separate. And we're going to put those on the loom in just a second. If you're using beads with a larger hole, you can put them on your hook and transfer them the same way you would bands. For beads with a smaller hole, we're going to use this technique from It's Delicious Designs. Take a piece of dental floss or a thin wire, run it through both of your beads. I keep picking out this one with a really small hole. we'll grab another one. We'll just do that quickly and it'll make it a bit easier, I hope. And I looked at them before I started too, and it looked like the pole was alright, but I think I was looking at the opposite side. This one should be easier to work with. Let's try this way. This usually goes pretty smoothly, but there we go. Okay, run it through your green band, pull it back over, bring it around and back through the beads from the opposite direction. This is incidentally a good way to thread buttons onto things too, or yeah, anything that you have that's small like this. It's a pretty good method. I'm sure I've used this a million times for a million different things, and now I can't really think under what circumstances, but I know this is a good way to get things with small holes onto other things. Once your beads or bands are on, we're going to lay them across from the third side peg to the third side peg, and we're going to stretch this up over. Just going to use this hook. So separate your eyes, and we want to get to the band between them and put the hook through and pull it up over the third center peg. And just incidentally, I'll make a note here. The reason that we've used the black band here, this is going to give us little eyebrows. So it's subtle, but it adds to it. Take your body, make sure it's pointing face up. So the front is going to be showing when you lay it down, and we're going to put the bands, all 3 of them, so you're going to have 6 loops all together onto the 6th peg down in the center. If you need to, you can stretch the whole piece down onto a nearby peg. We're going to reach underneath for the top 2 bands to bring to the far right side. The next 2 from under the neck are going to go to the closer side, the left here. And the last 2 are going to go straight upwards, and we're going to finish off the center row. Just grab your bottom 2 and bring them forward onto the peg above and continue that way. Shouldn't be anything in your way here. Stop when you get to the top, and we'll come down to the side and loop up your bottom 2 all the way. Push back everything but the bottom 2. And then loop inwards to the center. Repeat it on the opposite side. You want to get 1 or 2 black bands ready. I say 1 or 2 because you only need 1, but 2 will make it more secure. You're going to take your hook, point the open part away from you, and run it through the bands on the top center peg. Grab your 1 or 2 black bands here, slide it up and through, and as you come up you want to twist your hook around so that the open part is facing up. Put the other side on and pull one side of the bands over the other. You want to hold on to this or put it on something secure, again like a holding hook or C-clip. We can ease this off of the loom. We're almost done. He's got such a long skinny face. This is kind of a cool one. Cool pattern to do. Alright, press your eyes through to where you want them. You're going to turn to the back, go under a couple of nearby bands, and put your holding bands, your securing bands on, and slide those under. You can put that onto a C-clip. If you have any loose bands, take care of those now. And we're going to draw on pupils, and then we're done. Okay, so let's make sure these eyes are pressed through nice and clear. And we're just going to make a really big clear black dot in the center of each. If you get any on your bands, try and give them a little wipe off with your fingernail. press everything into shape. There we go. Okay, I think we're done. Let me show you what they look like, and I'll encourage you to check out the rest of my Munster set. I believe I only have one more left and should have it ready for you long before Halloween. So thank you for watching, and we're all good. Okay, have a good day, guys.